Hey, everybody. Welcome today. Today is one of my all-time big treats. We get to spend time with not only is he a presidential candidate or was, and I'm hoping he is again. He's got just a real good, solid political future. He's also the president and CEO of the War Room Media, and I'd like everybody to welcome Mr. Ryan Ray. How you doing, Ryan?
We were talking offline about reoccurring cash payments. I will be a reoccurring presidential candidate. So there you go. Reoccurring presidential candidate, Ryan Ray. That's our new mantra.
All right. You would call me a booger if it was reoccurring and you couldn't get me off your finger. I'm a Ryan Ray stalker. I have to tell all of the listeners out there, one of my biggest goals in life, Ryan, is you have so many different things. You and Ben Samuels and I enjoy bombing your live episodes. And it is so fun when Ryan Ray is on this and he sees Stu Turley pop in. Physically, you go like this.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I get excited. I get nervous because, I'm in the moment. Let's take you inside the moment. I'm pretending to be smart. And now someone who is 10, 20x smarter than me has joined the chat. And I know it. I'm intimidated. That's what it is. It's like, oh, gosh, I hope Stu doesn't call me out because I've said this before. I steal all of your material. And so it's like, how do I steal your material when you're presenting it live? And so it makes it very tough. It's an awkward spot for me.
Oh, no. I have to get my validation every day through Ryan Ray. I wake up and wonder, can I be like Ryan? Okay, enough of the man love, dear. Let's get going on. We've got some energy, crazy crap going on around the world, Ryan.
Yeah. You're putting it mildly today, Stu, I see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got, you and I talked over a year ago, we've talked. The more we go to renewables, the more fossil fuels we use. Mm-hmm. And part of the biggest problem with Germany and everything else in California is everybody forgot the number one thing about energy. Ryan, what do you think the number one thing about energy is?
Oh, see, here we go. This is you, smarter than me. Putting me on the spot. This is it. Like, this is what you do. Like, it's a weird time.
The number one thing for energy is it's the biggest thing that elevated humanity out of poverty.
Yeah, I would say that the
more wealthier
you get, the more you consume it. So
exactly. And so, the more renewable energy, the more fossil fuels we use to get that renewable online, the more rare earth minerals and everything else. So we need an intelligent discussion between these with somebody other than me and you, as only one of us in this conversation is you, which is intelligent, but
it's hard to find greater minds than these two. So I don't know if there's
we just solved the world's energy problem in 10 minutes. Wow.
Well, but your point though, Stu, right? If you took America's GDP and you gave it to everyone in the world, so Africa, India, Pakistan, Central America, South America, China. Okay. And you said, okay, so everyone's as equally rich as the average American, A. Right. And then B, we're going to fuel that energy as far as power consumption goes by renewables. Okay. Right. So you have those two variables in place. The demand for plastics. Could you project what that would be? It would be an unprecedented, right? So
unbelievable.
If you just snapped your fingers and just did that today, and you're not even talking about what you're pointing to, which is the diesel and all the stuff involved to mine for these, just the plastic demand alone, which comes from oil, would go crazy. So yeah, we're.
And think about the fish that we're going to kill with all the plastics. And also think about how many birds we kill with all the wind farms. So, it doesn't matter. I'm just kidding. Okay. But we need renewables. We need oil and gas, and we need nuclear. So we just need a healthy, balanced diet. But when you take a look at what's going on, you have the highest kilowatt per hour, and guess who gets ruined in the drive-through or gets it in the drive-through every time?
The low wage earner.
The disproportionately impacted community gets it in the drive-through every single time. And people forget that when they're doing the energy policies. Now, a couple of great articles came out from Jay on the King
Jay's a
operating.
smart guy. Can we just say that? Jay is the only person we could bring into this room and elevate the discussion.
But, I need to throw a bone out for King Operating because they are the sponsor of this podcast. And Jay was just recently on the BBC, Benzinga, and Yahoo Finance, and was just on the Ameritrade. And people are really intrigued by the difference of what he's saying. And that is the commodities boom is coming. It's here. And wealth is generated during commodity booms. Ryan, there's only been 3 other commodity booms in the history. Unbelievable. This is going to be the biggest, the worst, and everything else. And it's because inflation is the number one issue for commodities booms. Guess who gets richer?
The rich.
Guess who gets poorer? Me and you.
Yes.
And so wealth increasing right now is going to go on right now. And Saudi Arabia announced over, I think it was Friday, that they are going to be able to balance their budget by 2023, Ryan. They have the largest single, was it social programs in the world?
They're up there. If not one, do we count China's government as social programs?
We can only believe what they tell us, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, so I would think China probably has to be number one because so much of their government, but maybe on a per capita basis. But Saudi's up there. It's up there.
Oh yeah.
And their economy is like 99% dependent on oil production. So,
yep. And I'm not sure if you and I talked about it or if I thought I was going to talk to you about it, but Saudi Aramco, I believe, had to take $85 billion against debt this year. We can go fact check myself in order to pay for their portion of the Saudi government's subsidies. Go figure. They're going to get rid of that 85 billion and then go to a surplus by 2023. They're going to want high prices in oil. Did you see where China I think it was last Thursday, said they're buy all the oil and gas you can? Did you see that?
No, well, I didn't see that, but that's interesting. Oh, no. I did see that actually.
Isn't that nuts?
Let's see here. You're talking about this quote here. Let's see, this is the right quote. China orders top energy firms to secure supplies at all cost, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's frightening. When you take a look at Asia is now, I believe Bloomberg put out this morning, Asia is now specifically winning the war and in price battles. And then Qatar yesterday announced that they're buying 4 more LNG ships from China. So, I mean, we got a boom going on in coal and natural gas right now.
Well, how long, you have the predictions, like you mentioned, the 2023 with the Saudis.
Yep.
How long can it last though? That's because at some point, so I don't want to say it's coming to an end tomorrow because that's not going to happen.
The world is though. The world's coming to an end tomorrow.
We got a lot of runway ahead of us on this thing. But how many more months can moms on the lower end of the spectrum look at their grocery bill and go, okay, listen, $400 a month or $800 a month or whatever it is, it's not feeding my family anymore. I have to now pay $900 or $1,000, which means, little Timmy can't now go play soccer because the gas is also $4. And so I had to come down on that. And, how much longer until we start to see the consumers really adjust it? And we have, winter coming up, which means you have holiday travel and you have, Black Friday and holiday shopping, all that's involved with that. Will we see people reshift their budgets at the end of this year, or will they just rack up credit card debt?
Great point. And I think it's a combination because the supply choking is the other piece of the puzzle for the commodities boom. And I saw something, there's 60 ships on the off of the West Coast and 20 that are waiting to offload. And now the offload has been increased. They have a name for it, Ryan. I can't remember what it is, but it's the ocean to ship or whatever the transportation transportation on a slow boat from China has increased 8 days. And they're not gonna make all the supplies for the Black Friday, so that also drives price up.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's in the country is going to be a higher price.
Yeah. So, and what we're not hearing, at least what I'm not hearing is, I'm curious if you're hearing this. I'm not hearing people say, "Hey, now is the time for the big companies to go invest in their U.S. domestic drilling program." What you're seeing is like Los Angeles is getting rid of drilling, Denver airport's getting rid of drilling. Those barrels have to come from somewhere.
Well, right? Jay brought out this morning, in fact, because he is one of the smarter guys, Pioneer made an announcement this morning that even if they get enticed to drill, their investors have said they will be punished if they start allocating more capex to drilling. Try that on. So even
So what that means then is either A, OPEC will have to increase production, or OPEC plus, right? Or we're going to have to see this money go to like Africa on some of these a little bit more newer planes and try to figure out, because Africa is ready to drill. They want to drill. And so I think Namibia's got a big field they found down there. And so we'll just shift the money from the Permian, if you will, down to Africa.
Yeah. And Nigeria is one of the hot fields down there. But you also, Ryan, engine number one is also shutting down all of the other investors. We know with Exxon and everything else, they're shutting down the investors to go to greener. But one of the Norway. Norway has one of the largest oil and gas, gas fields in Europe, and the Dutch. The Dutch last week announced that they're having to close it down because of the environmentalists. So now we gave power to Putin.
Okay, so if you're talking about the same story I'm thinking of, that's the earthquake story, right? Because the earthquakes.
The earthquake I was thinking of was the nuke in California.
Well, there's a story, and I think it's this one, where there's an increase in earthquakes, and so they decided to stop all drilling. It's like, well, why don't you just slow down drilling a little bit, right? So if you're drilling, 100 wells a year, then go to 75 wells or 50 wells. I get it. Earthquakes are not good. I'm not trying to, but instead of going from 0 to 100, why don't you try to taper it off to see exactly where you might find that sweet spot? You might find that 40 whales or what, I don't know how much you're drilling, but whales. There we go. Hey, this is called the Whale Drilling Show, right? International Whaling Exploration or something like that. Whale. Get that whale out there, boy. The whales, they're drilling out there. I hate you, Stu. Anyways, reduce the drilling capacity by like 30% just to see if that fixes your earthquake problem. Instead, you shut it down and you go buy from Russia, and then you complain about, oh, by the way, Russia is not very clean, and they could charge you more, and all this other stuff. It's like, guys, this is simple, slow. And I've said this before, I think, on the show, Stu, which is policy changes should be incremental. You might have a goal you're working towards, but they have to be incremental. Otherwise, you have a huge policy shift, and you have all these unintended consequences that you have to suffer from.
Yeah,
like whales.
But whales were the original well for oil.
Listen, that's
why oil saved them.
Yes, whales saved whales.
We gotta make I'm calling our marketing department right now, and we're gonna have T-shirts made for me and you. Whales saved whales. I love that. That is absolutely one of the funniest things. And then another article, Ryan, was the traders are even looking at futures. The future traders were trading in holdings Brent at $100 calls through the next year have been calling by 220,000 new contracts this month. Holy smokes.
So let me ask you something here. So you're a smart guy and the smartest guy on the show. We just got through saying that people will not give money to Pioneer to drill more wells, not whales, wells. And definitely won't give them to drill wells either, but regardless. And yet they are somehow finding it in their heart to trade on the price of oil and gas. It's almost like a double standard. It's not, obviously, but it's almost like a double standard.
There's a hypocritical standard that's going on, and I want to make sure this is clear. We need to go to more renewables in the long term. We have to get a lower carbon footprint, period. End of that one. We all agree on that. But how we get there is the adult in the room question. We got to get there with nuclear. We got to get there with renewables. We got to get there with oil and gas. Great. Okay. Try the hypocritical thing for Total Energy. Is that how you say it? Kind of like Tarjay or Target?
Total. You had me at Total.
Total.
I'm with you.
They just published out that they're saying that their move to greener will be funded by their oil and gas. Go figure that one on. How's that for a little bit of hypocritical going on?
But do they have does Total, they have a trading desk, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, they just said they were going to get funded by their oil and gas.
So here these guys are trading. They're trading desks on oil and gas. They're not drilling, but they're trading on the commodity price.
Yep.
Well, if you're so against it, don't trade it. Like, just don't trade it, right? Like, that's not revolutionary thinking. That's if you hate it so bad, don't trade it.
Well, you got to admit the engine number one, at least they put their money where they believe.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
right or wrong, right?
Well, okay. So, but here's the thing. Here's the question. If you're Exxon, Total, Shell, BP, and all you're doing is making announcements about going greener, less drilling, less production, but your trading desk knows that you're going to do this and knows you're going to reduce, what's going to happen to the price?
Yep.
It's going to go up. Right? Which means that you're potentially influencing the market so that you can make money off those trades.
Yep. And yep.
I mean, am I crazy?
I got nothing, right? You're right. and we were kind of laughing a little bit about the Pioneer saying that they will be whacked by the investors. That puts it back into the shale. The money is going to be for investors, even if they're saying that they have to go to a greener fund. They're going to want tax breaks because taxes are going through the roof. So the funds that are out there for the independent operators that you can get oil and gas tax deductions on is a pretty good little deal right now.
So here's the question for you. I've got a group that I'm talking to. We'll see if I sign a deal with them. And they claim to have a 100% net zero emission drilling process. Okay. So from start to finish, it's a 100% net zero. I'm looking through the material now. Let's presuppose that they are correct. And they're re-injecting the CO2 and Bitcoin mining, and they have all these things. If you go to Pioneer and say, Pioneer, we can do 100% net zero, will that change people's willingness to invest? Because if not, then it's not about that.
I would agree with that philosophy. I would like to see the report and how they're doing it. Because in order to be net zero, they actually have to be negative on their bringing the CO2 in. Because no matter what you do, you are going to have CO2 leakage in the pipe, in the transportation, in the trucks being used, and all these things. So how do you get carbon neutral when you've got all of these emissions that you're trying to reduce? Liberty Frac is one of the best ones that's out there, and they use an electric fleet.
Yeah.
How do you generate electricity?
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. You're letting the facts do. You let the facts. Part of what they're doing, I think, is they're wanting to plant some kind of agricultural aspect that absorbs the CO2 as well. So because I think that gets the access. So hey, listen, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me, Stu. I'm just telling you what they're telling me.
Well, Putin already beat us to this.
Carbon neutral since 2007. If Google can say it, I can say it.
Where did that come from? I saw that just the other day, and I was like, right. Yeah.
All of those employees that you make come to work for 40 hours a week for the decade and a half. Oh, yeah, they were that carbon neutral. Yes.
I identify as a thin person.
Me is smart. So there we go.
I'm in trouble because I'm dumb and fat. So
that's what we should call this show. Maybe the
dumb and fat. Laurel and Hardy. All right, we're gonna have to arm wrestle. Which one's the thin one?
Well, you probably got me there. I'll give it to you. I'm a hefty fella.
Do you know how much I want to follow along in your footsteps, Ryan?
You don't, Stu. Don't make that mistake.
I got COVID just to be like Ryan Ray. Okay. I swear I felt so bad when I got COVID. All I could lay there is in the fetal position going, I'm like Ryan Ray. I'm like Ryan.
Well, did you do what I did and go get the antibodies infusion?
I didn't need to.
Oh, you're just that tough.
I only missed a day and a half of work, and that was a Sunday. So
wow. So you're better than me. You're better than me. I went, I had it for like 2 days, and I went and got the antibodies infusions, and I was back going again. Like I call it Thanos use. Like I felt like Thanos. He puts on the gauntlet, you're just like, oh, like that's I'm
gonna give a shout out to my doctor, Dr. Chalmers, and he fixed me up with some formula that is his concoction of COVID natural things that he's got a concoction for. And it was the reason that I was knocked down to a day and a half. Unbelievable. Now I felt I had to sleep 12 hours. I could only work 12 hours a day and then sleep 12 hours.
You work
but I'll tell you, it was Dr. Chalmers and his wellness stuff that got me through it.
Well, Dr. Chalmers, you should be sponsoring this podcast, it sounds like.
He should. I'm going to send him this note.
Yeah.
I swear I'm his biggest fan, almost as big as, you and Dr. Chalmers are who I saw.
That's what we should have a podcast. Dr. Chalmers and the bum. Just me and him get on here, just for you.
We'll have to, I'm going to have to send him a copy of this, but I guarantee you, health and wellness is going to be more critical than ever before. And so I know people, and we'll get you hooked up with those kids.
Well, it's. I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's one of the things before we got COVID, my wife and I were talking about, which is put all the political stuff aside for half a second. Mm-hmm. One thing we do know, and as a hefty boy myself, is that the less heft you carry on a daily basis, the less you look like a whale. Okay, the more you de-well yourself, the better your chances of survival are. And so perhaps a whale like myself, a purveyor of whales, a whale aficionado, should consider to go to just a shark. I'm not going to be a minnow, but maybe a shark, a large shark, a great white shark. Okay. Go from whale to shark. That's what I'm trying to go to.
Okay. Ryan, for our listeners, in the one great podcast that I've had, the only one out of the 700 that I've done, we were kind of alluding to that you couldn't say oil well. Our transcriber actually came up with whale. So we were drilling whales. Mm-hmm. You just said another one here just a second ago, and you mispronounced it again as well, but it was even better. I'm going to surprise you with this one. It was rely.
What'd I say? I did it wrong. Listen, I can't speak. I'm not a speaking person. I'm not a speaking person. That's not even a good phrase. Okay, I put out a tweet this morning that you should learn poetry. That was mainly for myself. People who cannot put together sentences or phrases or words. I'm mainly talking to myself. Okay, and I come on your shows too, and you're like, "Hey, slack jaw, talk." It's kind of like Dance Monkey. You're just kind of poking me with a stick. I see why you like my content so much now.
No,
I see its comedic value.
I need to give a shout out to you because I enjoy the wide breadth of your content, and I don't want to admit it, but I really do like your the way you look at things. Even though you are an independent presidential candidate, I would vote for you in 2.5 seconds, and I'm going to be your Ministry of Defense right now.
Oh, Stu's loading the nukes up, baby. He's pro-nuclear for sure.
No, we should all get along. I don't ever want to hurt anybody. I really believe in peace.
But you like nuclear. Just so we're clear. You don't want to hurt anyone, but you're pro-nuclear. Big nuclear.
Hey, power plants. Work with me here.
Power plants. Sorry. When you went to Minister of Defense, I didn't know. I was like, okay, well, if the nuke fits,
we ought to put in, the defense and the energy in the same one. We'd solve the whole problem.
Here we go. Minister of Defense, Stuart Turley. Okay.
All right, Ryan, give me you and Ben are a hoot. We need to give everybody a shout out for that. But tell me what's coming around the corner for Ryan.
Well, in about 55 minutes, I'll be on Energy Week with Dr. Ellen Wald.
Nice.
Let's see here. This week, I recorded a podcast Inside the War Room last week with Representative Kevin Brady.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got Benjamin Friedman from
Did you
Harvard.
say Tom Brady? You got Tom Brady on your show?
Yeah, I wish. Ben and I we're back with Bringing the Closers. So we used to have a show called Bringing the Closers. We talk about sales and marketing stuff. That's back. So Bringing the Closers. And then we're live Thursday at 3 with Don't Let the Facts. So
you want me on that show?
Come on, Stu. Anytime.
It's Bring in the Closers is a much higher compliment, but you need to have the show Bring in the Clowns. And that's where I belong.
We can do that one too. Me, you, and the doctor.
Anyway, Ryan, I'd like to reach all your contacts will be in the show notes. And again, I'm your second biggest fan besides yourself. So again, say hi, and everybody should follow you.
I love me some me. So
I'm a legend in my own mind. What happens when two podcast hosts get together? Too much man love.
Well, thanks again for having me on, Stu. I appreciate you letting me steal your content again, making me sound smart. And so it's good to be on. And I hate we missed last month. Look forward to next month.